All right, well, welcome everybody to tonight's Wednesday, May 15th, meeting of the HALRB. I guess it's time to call roll. We call roll, I think, sir, if you could take a seat, I guess, either on the back row here, the back row over there, or business.
Oh,
Sorry.
my name
Yes.
is Donald Murray.
Oh, thank you.
I worked for the National Association of Counties 43 years. Just got my master's degree in county government.
Oh, fantastic. Mr. Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind sitting on the row either here or back over there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That please call the roll.
Amari Davis,
Here.
Nan Dreyer. Here. Robert Dudka is excused. Andrew Fackler,
Here.
Alex Foster, Carmela Ham, Ray Hanley, Gerald Laporte,
Here.
Joan Lawrence. Here. Rebecca Meyer, Katie Myers. Here. Mark Turnbull,
Here.
Andrew Winchell is excused, and Dick Woodruff.
Here.
Do you have quorum?
Little explanation readout in the next meeting. So effective September 1, 2022, the state legislature now requires certain county board appointed commissions, including HLRB, to have in-person forum. HLRB hearings are provided in a federal time, both in person and online. If the public may attend and they virtually on person. Members of the board and members of the public join this evening. Public members tonight. Today's meeting is available to stream in the county website via Teams. There's also a download phone option for this. Board members, presenters, speakers, and the connectivity. Your next meeting, please don't reconnect. Keep your device muted and the video turned off until you are called on to speak. Public speakers not sponsoring items on the agenda. Your registration is required to speak at today's meeting. Speaker slips are available in the front of the room. Sorry, in front of the room for speakers. I'll call you to speak after the presentation of the event. The meeting chat is active for participants who need technical assistance only. Should not be used for discussion, public comment, questions about agenda items, or requests for more information. All public comments must be shared verbally for the record during the time of public participation. All voting will be done by call of roll. Lastly, this is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted on the county website. All information to today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to information requirements. With that, we'll move to approval of the April minutes. Any questions or concerns or doubts about the minutes from April? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the April minutes.
I'll second that. Please call the roll.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Dreyer,
Here.
Mr. Fackler,
Stand.
Foster. Yes. Just making sure, Ms. Ham, you're not on the line, correct? Mr. Hanley,
Abstain.
Mr. Laporte,
Yes.
Ms. Lawrence,
Abstain.
Ms. Myers. Yes.
She said yes.
Mr. Turnbull
Abstain.
and Mr. Woodruff.
Abstain.
Now on to the consent agenda for COAs. There are two on there. And I still want to line property other than on Columbia Pike. Are there any questions or concerns or comments about any of the items?
I have a concern about the second item.
That we'll pull that one on onto that.
On Columbia Pike, right?
The one at Chloe.
You should be done the motion for what stays on the consent agenda.
Okay, sorry. Okay, all right. So the first one, say the consent agenda, there, I move to we approve, Lynn's, I would say the item on the consent agenda.
I don't think so. I think you could just move to approve the consent agenda and then move the section for the other.
I was taking two up.
Just the one.
Just the one.
Just
Number two,
One that remains.
Yeah, so
there's just approve item one.
it's just one, Chris.
So we need a second.
I'll second the motion to approve it.
Right, so now we'll do roll call for that one.
Please call the roll.
So this is for the one COA left on consent. Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Dreyer,
Yes.
Mr. Thackler,
Yes.
Ms. Foster. Yes. Mr. Hanley,
Yes.
Mr. Laporte,
Yes.
Ms. Lawrence,
Yes.
Ms. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull
Yes.
and Mr. Woodruff.
Yes.
That's unanimous.
It's for the recent project, for the Columbia Pike project. So I will go ahead and give the stuff. Okay. The commercial building located at 2900 Columbia Pike, formerly known as Brickhouse.
I don't know that you need to make a presentation, but if you want to, that's fine, but I think we could save time if I just raise my concern.
Do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, it's a comment, really. I'm not against it, but I noticed the staff report refers to the hip metal roof and but the hip metal roof is not historic. Okay, so it implies that that's historic. And in fact, it was put on, it was a bank and it had just a flat top and then it was at one point it turned into a Spanish restaurant and they put that roof on. And when the developer came to, it was part of the whole redevelopment of the lot. The developer proposed to take off that roof, the tile roof, the metal tile roof, to make it historic. And Nancy Iacomini was the chairman of the HLRB at the time. And she said she likes the metal roof, so she didn't care if it was historic. She wanted to stay on. Okay.
Your memory is impressive, Jerry.
We all agree.
Can't go anywhere. Yeah, I mean, you can check the minutes on this if you want. It should reflect the minutes. So this report, the staff reports implies that that's historic. And in fact, it's not historic. And if we had followed general principles, we would have had that. And that was the original developer's proposal to take it off as part of the historic restoration of the property. But Nancy thought strongly that it looks aesthetically, she liked it. So she wanted to keep it. So I don't think she should let the, if you want to check it out, that's fine, but I just don't think that we should let the staff report stand as it is to imply that that's historic when it's not.
But I also want to say that it wasn't just Nancy, that a majority of the members were agreeing with her.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't remember if there was a vote or not, but she was very
I
strong.
believe there was.
But it was an aesthetic thing, not an historic.
Just looking at the report.
But maybe just the record of this, like, I don't know if you have to, how you.
Do you have any memory of what the historic signage was on that building?
I think, I'm not sure there was.
Do you,
It was a bank at one, I don't,
I don't remember it as a bank.
It originally was.
I don't remember the bank, or it was a restaurant.
Yeah,
I remember more about the hardware store.
yeah,
yeah.
of course, about it.
Okay, we can make sure and clarify if needed, the language that's in the staff report, but we're not, the COA application does not involve.
I know that, I'm just making a comment about the report, so to kind of correct the record, I don't know exactly how you want to do that, but. So somebody can't come back and say, oh, this staff report says it was historic. It implies it's historic, it really doesn't say that, but it implies. So that's other than that, I move to adopt the item 2 on the former consent. Second.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Fackler,
Yes.
Ms. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hanley,
Yes.
Mr. Laporte,
Yes.
Ms. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull,
Yes.
sorry, Ms. Lawrence.
Yes.
And Mr. Woodruff.
Yes.
All right, on discussion agenda. Item number one. 2904.
Want to point out the applicants that are sitting over here. We would ask you to join the. There's not that much.
Wow.
The pre-1923 house at 2904 22nd Street North is a contributing dwelling in the Maywood Local Historic District. The house has had a few COAs over the years, but there are two that are most relevant to this current project. In June 2008, the HALRB approved COA 0820 to redesign the enclosed front porch. The front porch, which had been an open porch at some point, was screened. In 1978, the then owners enclosed both the rear and front screened-in porches by replacing the screens with windows and vinyl siding. It was at this time that vinyl siding was also added to the entire home. COA 08-20 included the removal of the shed roof surround at the main entrance, which you can see here. The removal of the front door, which is here, and the relocation of the interior door, side lights, and transom to the outer wall of the enclosed porch in the place of the removed front door. So this is what the house looks like now. And this is a photo of the inside door, and you can see the other door that was on the front through. So they brought that forward. Okay. This is the doorway that is visible from the front exterior elevation today. Yeah, that's what it looks like. In August 2019, the HALRB approved COA 19-11 for the replacement of 3 basement windows and the conversion of a wall penetration containing an AC unit back into a window. In July 2023, a storm impacted the Arlington region and caused a large tree in the backyard of the property to fall on the rear of the house. The current proposal in part is a response to the ongoing repairs needed due to the storm damage. The applicant is proposing several alterations to both the existing roof and front entryway. Before I get through that, I just want to show you some of the photos of the house and some of the damage it sustained. Okay. The proposal includes the reconstruction of the existing roof using a new truss system, which would increase the overall height of the house by 1 foot. The new roof would be clad in architectural asphalt shingles. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to install a new roof dormer on the west, so that's located on the right side when you're looking at the house elevation. The rear roof elevation would remain without a dormer. Each dormer would have a front gable roof, a switch from the hipped roofs on the existing dormers. The applicant is also proposing to replace the existing vinyl casement windows and the dormers with French casement aluminum clad wood windows with simulated divided lights. Any replacement siding on the dormers, including the siding used in the gable end of the roof, would match the existing vinyl siding on the house that was installed in 1978. Repairs to damaged siding throughout the house would be replaced in kind with the same vinyl siding. Regarding the front entrance, the applicant is proposing to replace the entire front entryway, the door, side lights, and transom with a replica. The applicant desires to resolve energy efficiency and security issues with the existing door. The existing door handle would be reused. If possible, the existing decorative woodwork underneath the door glazing will be salvaged. If not, it will be replicated. The existing bevel-edged glass in the door and insulated glass in the side lights and transom will also be replaced in kind, as will the existing deadbolt hardware. The DRC considered this application at its May 2024 meeting. After asking some clarifying questions, the commissioners expressed that they did not have any concerns about the appropriateness of the proposed project and ultimately supported it, but decided to place it on the discussion agenda because the project included a change to the front elevation of the house. HPP staff recommend partial approval of this application as presented. Staff is sympathetic to the applicant's desire to make repairs to their home after it was damaged by the storm last year and agrees that most of the proposed work is appropriate for the LHD. Regarding the change to the roof truss system, see that change here a little bit better. Staff feels the proposed change in height to the house is minor and would not be largely discernible from the public right-of-way, thereby complying with the spirit of Chapter 6, New Addition Building of the Maywood Design Guidelines. There is also precedent in the Maywood LHD for modest height alterations to houses to accommodate living maintenance. Staff also finds the installation of a new dormer on the west elevation appropriate because it would complement the overall symmetry of the house, would complement the home's 4-square form and would not have a significant visual impact on the streetscape of Maywood. The Maywood Design Guidelines state that because of a dormer's importance in helping define the character of the neighborhood, their original design should be maintained. Although the subject proposal does include a change in the type of the original dormers, staff finds the change appropriate in this case because the new roof type gable is noted as appropriate for Maywood in the design guidelines, and the change in the dormer roof type is necessary for the installation of the new roof truss system. As noted earlier, the existing vinyl siding on the house was first installed in 1978 prior to the LHD designation of Maywood. Today, the use of vinyl siding is not allowable in Maywood. The owner shared at the DRC meeting that the original siding is not underneath the vinyl siding. Per the Maywood Design Guidelines, if the removal of modern substitute materials reveals that the original siding material no longer remains, then replacements with wood siding is preferable, and continues by saying that replacement materials would be considered on a case-by-case basis, excluding vinyl siding. This indicates that vinyl could not be considered as a replacement material. However, staff finds that the use of vinyl siding would be permitted in this case because it would be a replacement in kind, matching both existing material and design. The replacement siding is only being installed in areas where repairs need to occur, and staff feel that there would be a visual disconnect on the house if wood siding was required to be used for the repair areas. Staff finds that the replacement of the vinyl windows with new windows to be appropriate. However, staff advocates that the windows should be wood rather than proposed aluminum clad windows, given that those are deemed inappropriate in the Maywood Design Guidelines. Window replacements have been permitted on the property before and would be consistent with previous changes made to the house. And finally, HPP staff finds the requested replacement door to be appropriate, but not the entire entryway. As noted previously, in June 2008, the HALRB approved a COA, which included the removal of the entry door and the relocation of the interior entry door, sidelights, and transom to the outer wall of the enclosed porch. Staff could not discern whether the entryway is original to the house. However, the style, design, and material of the entrance indicate that it is older. The Maywood Design Guidelines state that original entry features such as sidelights, transoms, pediments, and canopies should be retained. It is for this reason that the HPP staff advocates for the retention of the surrounding features of the entryway, such as the sidelights and transom. The applicant's main reasoning for the replacement of the front entryway is to resolve energy efficiency and security issues with the door itself. Staff is sympathetic to those needs, especially since the door will be replaced in kind. However, staff agrees that replacing the door rather than the entire entryway would resolve those issues. And that concludes the staff report. And we do have a couple more photos though. One of the dormers and the existing windows. Selecting. And this is the entryway with a couple of detailed shots. So this is the existing door handle and some of the millwork done underneath. Oops.
That interior shot that you had of the door, does that still look like that? Is that an old photo or?
The interior still is that wood, what is it, oak or walnut? I don't know.
Right.
red oak. It's still wood. And then, yeah, the lady who owned the house had an all wood interior that's been painted white now, but we left the woodwork. It's beautiful. It's like the jewel of the house. It's the woodwork. We have beautiful interior work that we haven't painted.
The photo I found as part of the COA files for the 2008 application. So that's where it comes from.
With that, Mr. Tran, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I think when I approached this project, I tried to keep all the elements the same. A little bit, so, in order to make the structure work, we had to bridge, the beams. So that's why the two torn, because that carries a load straight down to the wall below, in order to keep that same open look. So that's why the dormer is shaped a certain way, but, we were trying to do it with the hip, but it's almost impossible to make walls and stuff like that because it's material that was used in the past. So that's how I came up with kind of a design. Can't change it too much, but because the two knee walls on the side help support it, so we needed that extra foot to make that off straight down, basically. So I think it's a good project and it's a fun project, and hopefully Leslie gets back into a home soon.
Here's your report. So I kind of echo what Michael covered. Initially, the DRC thought that the biggest thing about this job was that we took no exception actually to any of the changes actually. We just thought the fact that you're essentially changing, like, you're adding a dormer, really changing the way that the look of the building, public way really looks. We thought that really necessitated it being on the discussion agenda. As far as like any of the changes in terms of like the additional height, or additional dormer, or even the actual surround around the door, we thought it's essentially all appropriate. But given that such a big change, changing essentially the entire look at the front of the house, we thought for sure that she could for discussion.
Just to look at that picture that was damaged, it was 2/3 gone.
Mhm.
So imagine, this house is pretty strong, that it didn't destroy much of that, but that whole wood allowed it, but close to 1/3 of it.
I have a question. You didn't mention the surround at the entrance. Did you all have a different opinion than the staff?
We did. We thought it was essentially appropriate to be changed out. But I think that but now, I mean, I think listening to staff's reasoning around it, I would actually fall more in line with the staff's opinion, though, that it'd be better to actually keep the surround, if at all possible. I mean, if we could keep the surround and make the door work in terms of the thermal efficiency and also security and everything else, I'm much rather keep the surround than I have it taken out. Yeah.
Do we have any input from the owner or the architect about the
Well,
reasons for that?
The reason is the old way that the house was built. If you see that wood paneling, it's just a straight panel. There's no insulation value in all the walls, and it seeps around the surround also. So it's not just the door itself, it's a whole system, right? So when you design a store, you don't just design the door, you design the whole surround around it. So when we bring the new product over, it'll be a whole replacement and replica of the whole exact same thing, because we found a company in Pennsylvania that actually does this type of work. They replicate doors in the 1900s. And so it will look exactly the same, but they'll give that value because now you're not having that wood all exposed and things seeping through. It'll produce a tighter fit because of the storefront and the way it's done. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Where's the insulation?
Between the doors. It's the seal, actually the seals, yes. Yeah. So the way it's built now is not built like the way it was before, where you have groove and wood. Now they're actually sealed, actually one solid member instead of a bunch of members connected together.
So it's a steel front door?
It's not steel. It's a wood,
Wood.
actually wood. All of it is wood, but just the way it's made is different.
So it'll be double panes?
Double
instead-
pane insulated around, bevel glass in that front door that's there. If we can salvage the old one, we'll use the old one, but it's just the surround that.
You honestly think the quality of the wood in this new product is
Oh,
anywhere near
yeah.
as good as the old wood?
Yes. This company out there, that's what they're known. Vintage company that we found, and they're Amish.
Do they use vintage wood?
They use vintage wood and they also use, they can make the die cuts to make the mold. So they can
So they
replicate.
could replicate
all the die cuts and all that stuff that. I couldn't find any, I looked everywhere. This was the only company.
What
that-
kind of wood is used now and what will be?
It's a red oak.
And it'll still be red oak.
We're not changing it.
If you could share their name with the
I did.
preservation
I
staff,
did.
that'd be
I
great.
did, I put it on there, vintage.
Yeah, they have a.
So,
Vintage, okay.
on
Oh,
the,
that's that.
Vintage mower. Okay.
on the.
So it's very difficult to find,
I know.
and I was looking for months and months to just find the. They're very easy to work with, and you give them a cut sheet and draw. Come out.
Good to know.
They're in Pennsylvania, so they're not too far away.
That's very good to know.
So on the drawings, for the custom front door with replica,
Mhm.
it was called out for, double pane insulated glass
Yeah.
at the transom and the side lights, but then the door,
The door is a single pane because of what it is there now. It's a bevel glass, and it's impossible to make the bevel glass insulated that I found out.
is there? is
I
that-
wish I could, but
No, agreed, and respect the fact that we're keeping it. I'm just wondering from the energy efficiency perspective, what are we gaining by replacing it? If we're keeping single pane there and then,
it would be totally sealed. It's just a look. The single pane is just a look, because we want to keep the same look. The insulated glass is what's gonna seal basically, and the way they seal the bevel glass now. Even though a single pane, it still has some sort of insulated value compared to what's now.
are the side lights and the transom that are currently there double pane?
Yes. That's why. I don't know, somebody replaced it a while back.
Is there a way, and I know you said that this mill worker is in Pennsylvania, that someone can come and try to seal up the door?
The door is so, it's basically almost falling apart.
I
You
wanna
can
say
feel-
it's damaged.
You can
So,
feel the breeze.
yeah, my stepfather's a handyman and they own rental property in Texas and he's come and he's like, that's a hazard. It's not safe. Because you can just basically push it open. And basically, I think because they've moved it forward and backwards, there's something in the lock mechanism and the way that they put the handle back on, it's just not safe. I mean, you can feel air coming through in the winter.
Right,
And I've tried to have handymen come in. I reseal the bottom every single year with a new like rubber strip because there's just air coming through the bottom, but it's not a fix
right.
or a door that you can push open and feel air coming in the bottom.
No, I support it, knowing that it's coming from the vintage millwork restoration and it's a custom match. It's not something off the shelf of Home Depot.
Yeah. You can't do this.
I really like the old one a lot.
Yeah.
That's why I've kept it. I've owned the house since '09, but the door's a hazard.
Right.
So while I'm doing the roof, I asked Ben if he could look and search for a,
Well, the
That's
hardware will
real
keep,
work.
but we won't keep the hole in the hardware.
It seems like where the door is no longer a contentious issue necessarily. It seems like the only other one has to do with these windows in the dormers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my sense is it's a bit much to ask to replace what's already a vinyl window with a new wooden window in a dormer. I just think that's a bit much.
I tend to agree.
I mean, it's hard to get to, it's hard to maintain and paint up there.
That's why we chose aluminum clad with a certain level look, so it looks vintage. That's why Anderson makes it. So Anderson makes something with that series. That's why it looks the way it is, because it's just a white finish.
How closely will it match the other windows?
The other windows are double, it's a single pane, true light divide. If you can see, actual picture itself, it's.
Oh, you want me to go? I can.
Yeah. It's, if you see the old one that's there now,
Mhm.
it's pretty much that, but it's better looking.
Are those actual lights, divided lights, or are they
They are simulated divided light.
simulated?
So when you have it's attached to the front, so it looks more like instead of in between the glass.
What?
That's why I asked.
So it's not in between if you see, it's not the one that they have where they put in between the glasses, light on outside. So, okay, it looks just like that.
And what's the new one gonna look like?
It's the same thing, but it's
With
a
real
little bit better
divided?
detail.
Will it have divided lights?
Yeah, we'll have divided lights
The same way or?
the same way.
Two above.
Exact same.
Do our new window guidelines offer any guidance on this matter?
What is the current guideline with respect to this specific window?
It's still, it's,
I believe it's wood and we had, I'm trying to remember the terminology that was used. It was the regular window versus the, we say decorative, special window. I was gonna say decorative.
says special windows only apply to non-standard dormer, which I would categorize this as a pretty standard dormer. Yeah, the new guidelines, the appendix don't really talk about material as much. Says if the existing window material is inconsistent with the age and style of the house, which this would be, the applicant may submit a material more appropriate for the LHD for the HALRB's consideration. But the wood windows are still typically what's recommended by the guidelines.
And I think that's especially the case if it's a wood window that's being replaced, right?
Yeah, but it was replaced
Well,
with
even
vinyl.
if
I understand.
Yeah.
But we have had cases come before us that have not wood windows that are replacing with wood windows.
I think I did that myself.
Live to tell about it.
So,
But only after the fact.
I wanted to say that we did put those windows in. Rebecca Ballo came out to my house and said that the windows, old windows that were there, that you just opened with like a little safety pin thing, not safety pin, but like a eyelet hook thing.
Oh.
And there was just air coming in and birds and stuff. And so she said, good news, these are non-contributing windows. You can put this in. So I actually had someone come to the house because it's what when we first bought the house. The windows were like broken,
And
didn't close properly.
they approved vinyl windows.
They said these are non-contributing windows. You can replace them. So I had her come to the house to look at the windows. And it's in the attic. So
What material are the rest of the windows on the house?
the combination.
It's a combination. Lower section and basement is it's like a flat, isn't it? Like a
There's
flat
vinyl in the
vinyl
front. And then I just had the COA and put wood in the back. But there's also some vinyl upstairs, maybe in the far back
Yeah,
where they, yeah,
and
the
then and
kitchen.
the back addition is a vinyl.
And then when I bought the house, I restrung the old wood windows so I could keep all the old windows. A lot of them were broken and didn't work, and I had them all restrung with the sash.
New sash boards.
Yeah, So I kept all those, and then that's why I called historic board when I had the attic cracked window issue. So,
The fact that it's a attic casement, I'm not overly concerned. If it were the front elevation first floor, then I would say, yes, it should be wood, but the fact that it's high and it was previously vinyl.
those are all wood in the front. In the front, all the front facing windows are wood, except for that one dormer that has an attic.
So just clarification, are you replacing all the dormer windows, or just the new dormer?
All of it.
Okay,
We want to keep it consistent.
and there are 3 dormers?
Yes.
One's new.
It will be 3.
We have 2 now and one was completely crushed. So that one definitely needs to have something done. And then the one we were wanting to have them be the same, have the symmetry. So while we're replacing the one that's crushed, we're trying to figure out.
You needed to change them too for code reasons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For egress.
Egress
So,
and all.
yeah.
Is that for some?
There was a livable space up there. Actually open it up as a case. In certain square footage.
So it's gonna be a French case.
Well, I think I'm ready to make a motion. Vote how they see fit.
Yeah, I think we need to be clear that this is a particular case. It's not precedent setting, that there's specific extenuating circumstances that enable us to, that, would allow us to permit vinyl.
Final class.
Vinyl clad, actually. To be very
Aluminum.
specific.
Aluminum clad.
Oh, aluminum clad.
Yes.
Then she doesn't have to climb up there every year.
So let's see, I'll start off. So I move that the HLRB approve COA 24-13, 2904 22nd Street North in the Maywood Local Historic District for the request to install new roof dormer, change dormer windows. Change dormer window to aluminum clad wood window from existing vinyl clad windows. In terms of the, I guess, in order to replace. I mean, I guess the senior secretary, it's here is back to this bin. So
Because one is in time. And then the other was due to damage.
Well, none are in kind because it's a vinyl window and they're replacing with aluminum clad
Oh, okay.
all around for it. So,
Could you maybe read back? what-
yeah, I'll read back what
read
we
back.
started. Okay. I move that the HALRB approve COA 2413 2904 22nd Street Road North in the Maywood Local Historic District for the request to install a new roof dormer, change dormer windows to aluminum clad wood windows from existing vinyl windows.
there's,
In this special case, not get at John's concern.
in the special case, I mean,
So we could just make a
What's the-
finding that, that in this specific situation, this is appropriate because it doesn't alter the front appearance of the front of the house. And it is,
And should we say those windows are non-conforming?
no,
Wordedly non-conforming.
they are. But we need to make- They already.
I think that says it. That sums it up, the way you just described it. The special considerations.
Yeah, they're.
22nd Street.
Yeah. Second Street.
You want to talk about the other elements of the
Yeah.
COA?
yes. So, comment, something. dormers and, change dormer, install new roof truss system, and replace front doorway as submitted. So essentially, changing out the doors.
Maybe change.
Period.
Once more for the commissioners.
Okay, I move that the HALRB approve New Way 2413, 24 22nd Street North in the Maywood Local Historic District for the request to install a new roof dormer, change dormer windows to aluminum clad wood windows from existing vinyl windows. In this specific situation, this is appropriate because it does not alter the front of the house. Change the dormer roof type, install a new appearance.
I want to say something about at the.
Well, no, they're normal.
Change dormer roof type, install a new roof truss system, and replace the front entryway.
So we need a second for the motion.
Second.
Is it worth adding anything about the entry being a restoration reusing existing elements? Just to prevent any precedent setting.
Hardware and millwork.
I can
Yeah.
What I typed was, I'm just going to read that last part. Replace the front entryway as submitted because the applicant is utilizing a restoration company that uses historic methods and materials and will reuse some elements of the existing door.
Please call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Dreyer,
Yes.
Mr. Backler,
Yes.
Ms. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Hanley,
Yes.
Mr. Laporte,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull,
Yes.
Mr. Woodruff.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Get my house.
How long have you been out of it?
So it was the end of July.
Yeah,
and
we had a tree come down too,
A tree came down on, you might,
not on our house, on our neighbor's new garage.
are you, where, you're in Arlington?
Lincoln. Maywood.
So our neighbor across the street, he's at maybe hearing his application, came right down the front of his house, back of my house, with one of those microburst windstorms. So just, and then it went through Thrifton Hills Park and took down a bunch of beautiful old trees and Thrifton Hills in the park. And, but it was just our two houses and then the park.
I think it started at my end.
I'm not you guys.
Good luck.
Really
Good luck.
I think you should be commended for trying to keep it as much as you can after such a disaster.
How much,
All right,
how much longer until it's?
we're gonna submit. See if we can get it done.
At Christmas, can I have a Christmas with my children? And
People, let me know, got the roof manufacturer and all that stuff. So
thank you.
we have it,
so
a
much.
system down and get the permit in.
The permit
I'll
is
talk,
fine.
I'll talk to the permit expediter here.
Good
I
luck.
talked to them already. Before all this happened, so, yeah.
Drop down.
For your help too.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely, I'll be in touch.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You won't hear from me again. No more trees.
As long as there's no more storm.
No, there are no more big trees that unfortunately others want, but that's not gonna happen. Thank you.
That's terrible.
It's one of the worst hit houses in Maywood, I would say. It's farm.
Yeah, the one across the street is. So,
Yeah, and they're, you all won't see that one. They're doing is just. All right.
All right, under 2, discussion.
go by there. It's good.
The Green Valley Pharmacy, originally built in 1942 as a grocery store, was designed as an was designated as an Arlington County Local Historic District in 2013. There have been minimal changes made to the building over time, and in the past few years, the HALRB has reviewed a few different COA projects associated with plans to convert the pharmacy into a restaurant. Between January 2022 and July 2023, COA 21-30 has undergone several amendments and revisions. Most relevant to the current application before the HALRB is COA 21-30B, which was approved by the HALRB in June 2023. And so this is a plan from that specific COA. This COA included the installation of 3 bioretention planters on site. It is this element of their project that the applicant is requesting to change with the current proposal. So this was the location of the bioretention planters that they presented in June of last year. And here's a close-up of them. So this is what the HALRB previously approved. And I'm gonna... So they highlighted the walking cooler in the purple area, but those aren't changing. So don't worry about those, but it's this planter right here. Okay. Now the applicant is proposing to have 1 instead of 3 bioretention planters at the corner of the property lot near the intersection of Shirlington Road and 24th Road South. The planter box would measure 22.4 feet by 8.9 feet by 16.3 feet by 5.9 feet with a height above ground of about 10 inches and 24 inches underground. The DRC considered this application at its May 2024 meeting. The members had some reservations about the proposed location of the bioretention planter and asked questions about the height of the planter and the reasoning behind its proposed location. Since the applicant was not present at the meeting, these questions could not be answered. Due to the outstanding questions and concerns, the DRC placed this item on the discussion agenda for the May HALRB meeting. Staff recommend approval of the subject application. The proposed change to the bioretention planter plan was made in response to comments received from other county entities, while permitting for the broader renovation project has been under review. As such, the current proposal allows the project to comply with other county requirements and stormwater management goals. Since the proposed planter will measure 10 inches in height, it will not interfere with the view of the historic building. The planter will be installed along the sidewalk, thereby not damaging or affecting any historic site elements. Thus, the planter complies with standards 9 and 10 of the Secretary of Interior Standards. And that concludes the staff report. And I did want to pull up. So that's what it will, it's like a section of what it will look like. And I took some photos of the site so you can see the area in which that change will occur. So it'll be in this area here. And I wanted to provide just an idea. Sorry for the awkward photo. I was out there by myself. That's what the height is going to be.
So what, where is it? I was trying to figure out where it was going to be.
Pretty much directly behind it.
Okay, that
Let
was
me
my
go back
sense
to
of it.
the plan. And Gray, did you have a question too?
Well,
Oops.
this is my ignorance, but at least in, well, my assumption is that the bioretention planters that I'm familiar with gather water from runoff of the roof. But this is a bioretention planter that's sitting in the middle of the parking lot. Where's it gonna get its water?
So it
that it's
looks-
retaining?
It looks like based on this plan, it's going here.
There's a downspout on the right corner of the building, it's running underground, I guess, to the outfalls inside the front.
Okay.
Like a French pipe.
Oh, so it'll be an underground drain off the single gutter
Yeah.
that drains the whole roof.
That is what they're proposing.
And it's big enough for that. Somebody has done that calculation.
They
Because
have,
I-
and
I can tell you on our house, when we had to put in those planters and they made, there was a lot of discussion about this. They're huge, huge. And the house is
I think they've
not a whole lot
modified
bigger
their
roof than
approach
this.
since they originally started requiring them. So I've noticed, the one next door to us, they added is much smaller than the ones that are on other.
That's interesting.
Well, you're saying,
The applicants-
And the underground drain will carry the water. Okay.
Sorry, the applicants-
Oh.
Mr. Maharme,
Sorry.
Yeah, hi, how you doing? Yeah, I am here.
okay,
Okay,
Can you
Mr.
hear me?
Harvey, would you like to offer any comments to the board regarding maybe the perhaps the size or size or location of the planter box?
Actually, the comment, everything looks like what we have in the plan. And I don't know if you have any question, but everything looks like very clear to me. It's on, we are gonna have it on that corner. And, and this is much better than having 3 in the past. That's why this application now to reduce the number of planter boxes.
can you speak more specifically to why it's in the proposed location and why it isn't somewhere else on the property, perhaps?
I mean, it doesn't make any difference, but we choose this location because of the close to the outfall. We need to outfall to the nearest manhole in that area. That's why.
Okay.
Okay.
Michael, do you have the old plan with the tree?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Katie.
Ms. Myers, please.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to raise for maybe everyone to discuss more. I know it's short, so this may not be a huge deal, but I do think, this historic building is really about like the corner. And so.
Katie, I'm sorry, you're coming in and out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little hard to hear.
Sorry. Okay, is it better if I am just talking louder?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just okay. So what I was saying, I just wanted to raise discussion for the group is that because this is about like kind of the corner of the building, that's one of the historic elements. I thought it was too bad that the planter, which is new, is kind of put right in front of that. So if it could be in a different location, I think that would be great. I do think since it's so short, that minimizes any issue. But I do think that also think about what they'll put in it. And if a tall plant goes in it, that also could block the views. And we don't really have any control over what people put in these or if they take care of them after, 10 years or so. So just kind of food for thought and discussion for the group.
The applicant did let me know that the tallest planting they would probably put in is about 15 inches in height, so.
Okay.
What is the material of the exterior of the planter?
Mr. Maharme, can you speak to that?
Yeah, the exterior, since it's gonna be 10 inches, this is gonna be like wood. We could do wood, like a garden box actually, or a planting box. That's what they call a planter box. And it's gonna be hidden because once you put some flowers on it or little bit bushes. It's gonna be nice looking. And also, don't forget, is in that area, we might add more plants and seating area. It's gonna look nice, actually.
So the material will be wood.
Yeah,
Doesn't it have to be a masonry material? So maybe the wood would be outside of the masonry?
it could be both, but for now, I think it should be wood. And if we are gonna have, depend, like, I don't know exactly once the architect, if they wanna make some changes outside it, yeah, we could. But for now, wood will do the work, you know.
Will the wood be painted?
And I'm not sure, actually, maybe like we could leave it as natural, or maybe we can have some stain matched. Depend, I'm not sure exactly. I'm not prepared to paint it now, what color, you know.
But it sounds like that's uncertain at this point. But
I mean,
one option might be for those boxes to be finished with, it done with masonry. I think they are gonna have to be masonry to hold that much water. And then faced with stucco that matches the building itself, which would mean it would fade into the, you know, it would not be so noticeable if it was finished with the same exterior surface as the historic building.
I mean, if we have to match it as with the building, yeah, I will agree with you. We will do the outside other than what's the inside, because this planter box, once they build it, if we have to do like, let's say CMU wall or masonry, then, but this is the outside face. If we have to match with the building, yes, and paint it, we can do it. But that's, I mean, a preference with the architect. Once they do it, we will ask them to match it exactly what they need to do.
So I know that the reason it went from 3 to 1 was also based on other county comments.
Mhm.
Was it, I guess, did the 3 not meet the stormwater requirements?
I'm not sure.
Because I think there was something nice about the way that the 3 and the shapes of it sort of took into consideration the site, and that it kept your entry open. I think the shape and the location of it right now doesn't have any relation to the site or the building. And so if it needs to be 1, can the geometry of it be refined, I guess, or studied? Because I think knowing that the historic building and the entry has that chamfered corner, is there a way that, I don't know, just the relationships can be,
Like something that's a little bit more,
Something more angled.
more angled.
Replicate the angle of that entrance in a box. And then it would look like it had been there a long time.
I also agree, Ray. I assumed that this was gonna be masonry with a stucco exterior.
It's the way they can build it out of wood and
That's
so much water.
That's what I thought. Unless they use like pressure treated wood, I'm not, I don't think that would be allowed, okay?
I mean,
And it would, if they did, it would not be aesthetically pleasing, and I think that's a, you know, historic, and we have an obligation.
They could put it in a wood, you know,
Yeah.
like outer,
I-
whatever.
Yes.
whatever.
I think it's
Just put
that.
I agree, but right now it seems like it's unclear, so sort of
Yes.
like, I don't know what we're voting on.
Seeing from an entry approach, it is a little bit uncomfortable to come from the sidewalk and to see the entry from that corner, but then have to redirect around the bioretention to enter. And I wonder if that, just at a logistical level, will have an impact on business. And I realize that it might be hard to push it over if you're trying to keep one single bioretention, to push it over to the right or to go further north because of the existing trees. But I see here on the proposed standard detail that the one that's suggested is against the building wall. And I wonder if there's space potentially to do it on, I guess, the northwest of the entry, up a little bit closer to the building.
What part of the, where are you talking about?
So where the entry is,
Yeah.
at that corner, go a little bit up.
Over here.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
that becomes
That
a better
area.
area, it's out of the way of your pergola. It's not obstructing the entry, the experience from the sidewalk. Fire retention's good, but honestly, it's never pretty. I wouldn't want it right in front of my door.
I think we need to know more about which other county departments required changes to be made and what those were and what the rationale was, because it doesn't make sense for us to order something that then maybe another agency is gonna overrule or there's a reason, so.
Yeah, but let you something. This is already, we have it approved in the past. We did not make any changes except we removed the two of them. Now we have one. I mean, we did not make any changes. If you look at the details and see if there is any more details you want to know, we have these details. We have it approved before, you know, and now we're not making any changes. We're just removing the other two. And we cannot move it to the right because those trees, we have to have a spacing. We talked with Melissa at that time, and she recommended,
Yeah.
I mean, to have it at those locations. I discussed with the county reviewers, and this is the best location because you want to be sure also the outfall close to the manholes in case if there's any clean out needed. And that's why it's not recommended to put it against the building. It's going to affect the foundation also for the building. That's the best location we find out. That's what we have it now.
So Mr. Maharme, so this,
Yeah.
this one single location is more efficient than the previous iteration with three? Is that what I'm
Yes.
hearing?
Yeah, because you know what we find out, the previous, there is some, we did the survey again, there is some area which is, it was already like, you know, we calculate like pre and post. And in that time, when Mark, he did, there is some missing data from the survey. We did survey the site and we find out we don't need a lot. The pre and post is not much difference now.
Didn't need as much.
We don't need much to treat the water. Yeah, it's very minor.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think to Alex's point, and understanding that the trees need room, but these are all new trees.
Yeah, they're on the trees.
So I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think there's so much value to good landscape and civil and water retention, but I don't know, I'm not convinced that this is the most efficient. Well, it may be the most efficient, but I don't think it's the most aesthetically pleasing or respectful of the historic building, just from the entry approach from the, where the historic info marker is. So I would love to see another iteration or to see the comments from the other county boards that were requesting a change to it, but
We're actually looking through the comments now. I think the gist of it is the site just did not require as many as originally proposed.
Okay.
But not, no comments about location.
Not that we can tell.
I would have to do a deep dive.
the county didn't require the 3 that we had before. Could we just keep 2 of them, right? Because they were a little narrower. They,
Well, so I feel like some of this is the balance of it being under not so much the HALRB to determine like how many planter boxes are necessary. That should, I think, is more appropriate given the skill level of the reviewers who are looking at the permit for stormwater management. And I would hate for us to require something that is then not coherent with what they require, and they're gonna have to come back anyways. So Mr. Maharme is having more of those conversations with the permitting team. And so his understanding is essentially my understanding of of the project and what permitting for those departments. Because when I look at the permit, I look for our specific elements. So I think it would be better to make a determination about what is being proposed here tonight and trying to figure out how you all would like to move forward. If you want to request them to study looking at it somewhere else, I think that that's appropriate.
Mr. Chair, Katie has her hand up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Katie. Katie, please.
Hi, yeah, can we see that, when we approved the 3 really quick again?
I don't understand what she's talking about.
I know.
Yeah.
The other site plan,
Sorry,
it's the 3.
the,
We got you.
the earlier site plan with the 3.
Okay.
It's coming.
So I feel like I'm yelling at my computer.
It is clearer now.
It's better when you're yelling.
Yeah, it's better when you yell.
Okay, I think,
Closed captions or something?
okay,
It's really a,
and then, can you put it side by side, or is the shape different?
The shape is different, the size is different,
Yeah.
So in looking back at the minutes for that meeting, these are located like right at the front. So this is the front. It's kind of hard to see on our screen. I'm not really sure why, but this is the front of the building. So this bioretention planter was located here directly in front, and there weren't any objections at the last HALRB meeting about the location itself. Most of the discussion talked about the pergola, which I think is why there wasn't as much discussion about the planters.
Okay.
So they're
I
just
would
keeping
say
that one that we had already looked at. The other,
Yeah,
It's a little bit different.
Reconfigured it.
They've
Reconfigured and
reconfigured
smaller.
and it's a bit smaller, and it's more like in this area here. But it-
Right, it's larger in front of the entrance. So it gets wider at the corner that blocks this corner entrance, the new suggested one. And so I think if we could maybe change the shape of this planter to better kind of reflect an opening at the most kind of, this building isn't really that, it doesn't have very many features. The only feature really is this odd little corner. So I do feel like if the planter could just not kind of jut out right in front of that corner, that would be super. I think that would give me a lot more comfort with it. So I liked how the old one that we approved was wider towards the back and skinnier in front of the corner. I don't know if a reshaping of the planter is possible, but that's what I would advocate.
Yeah, really all over the place here. I think I would actually associate myself with what I sort of gathered from Katie's comment too. I think that and my objection to it is that the fact that it's like right at the very front of the building, that's really the chamber corner really is the most sort of special part of the building. So that's my sort of objection to it. I do realize that previously we've approved this one here where it's similarly sort of on the building, but I honestly think that as it stands now, I'm not crazy about it being sort of right there in front of the historic chamber corner.
With the following up on it though, first of all, we weren't covering other aspects of that discussion with the planters last time. Secondly, if not as much as required, you approved something based not knowing requirements.
Right.
Then why is that the one being used versus say the one further back opposite the pergola? Like, why is that the location that's being chosen out of the 3 to do it? You don't need as much. That is the least obstructive.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Mark. Yeah, I mean,
just for the sake of discussion, looking at this, I wonder if, Mr. Harmon, if you all have, or your architects, if you all have considered that space that's between, it's off the other corner, right where the gutter comes down. And that space
Okay.
sort of on the back of where the gazebo is. There would be no planter at the front. And then
Okay.
there would be the planter that would drain right into the street off of that end, which is kind of the back of the building. It wouldn't take anything away from the entrance. You could have all kinds of plantings out there and seating areas and all of that sort of thing. It's really not our business
Mhm.
to tell you that. It's just our
I-
business to be concerned about trying to keep an open view of the front of the
Okay.
building.
Okay. Yeah, I think we will consider all option. I mean, if you want, it's up to you guys. If you want me to reevaluate again, take a look to the other side. Yeah, I will ask my engineer today to take a look. And if you prefer to move it to the other side, yeah, we will do that. I don't mind. But I mean, we choose this location. It's already approved, already like close to the manhole. And I mean, but I don't mind if you, and we didn't choose it between those trees because Melissa, she wants to keep distance. We could not use any planter box in between. But now I think I could revisit and evaluate it and put it in that area where it's the after the last tree close to the building.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, if you want, I could do it and send it to you like tomorrow. But I don't want to wait like 2 more weeks for getting approval. Can we? Can I will run it by you guys and take a look quickly and see what you think?
I mean, I think well, actually, before you discuss that, I do want to discuss the materials though.
The
So,
materials, I can get you what's exactly the materials because maybe there is a details, but I was not aware of it too much because I want to discuss with my team to be sure. But if you have any preference or any feedback, I will take your feedback, and if then I will let you know what kind of material we are gonna use.
I mean, I think one thing that might work for the board would be some sort of masonry material clad in stucco matching the building. I mean, that'd be one thing that might work for the board. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's will be from the outside, like facial. Yeah.
Yeah, correct,
Yeah, yeah,
correct.
yeah, exactly. That's will match it. Yeah, but I was talking with the inside material, the actual bioretention itself. Yeah, I mean, we have some details, but I can give you the details.
Could we approve it with the stucco exterior
Mhm.
in the back corner tonight? And then if you can't,
Then it comes back to us.
then it comes back to us if you can't get that done.
Yeah, we could do, haven't we
I
done
don't
it?
feel more comfortable since we don't have a drawing of it.
Mhm.
I think it would be better to do a conditional approval and then have them submit for DRC to make sure the drawings are what you all envision.
Okay, additional. Okay.
With those caveats, those two big
Right.
caveats.
So it's a
Yeah.
delay, but it's not a
Yeah,
full
not a
month
full.
delay.
Okay, okay. Maybe a little bit there. Okay, all right. So.
Take your time.
Well,
I
okay, the others that we approved were rectangular in configuration.
Mhm.
I would feel more comfortable including that in in what we approved. I mean, other people may have a different opinion,
Fits.
but you know, we had already approved rectangular configuration. So this is a different configuration.
Yeah,
I'd almost, you know, this was curved, I think. Not an easy one.
yeah, no,
But I think of the three that we had previously approved. And maybe I'm just reading the screen wrong. I don't know that they were all rectangular. I think there was still angles. I think it was more of just having a relationship to the building and the chamfered entry. And so maybe it, yeah, I mean, maybe it's more of just the statement that, or the conditional approval that the shape respects the entry and doesn't obstruct the historic feature.
That's really what we have to decide.
Yeah.
And we can't really decide that question.
Yeah, I would really
See
prefer it
what's
not being in
proposed.
front. Frankly.
Great.
I think
Right.
relocating it to that back corner, something that I think is more appropriate.
Agreed.
And
But
I think aesthetically, it will look nicer behind the pergola.
There really isn't that much space between the sidewalk and the front of the building. I drove by there 2 days ago and I'm always struck by how small it is actually.
We could condition it not to block the view of the doorway and request that it be considered to be behind the pergola, but with the idea that possibly another location on one of the sides would work out for some possible engineering reason that we don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah. that
Yeah,
might
but
make-
let me say something too, because about those, why we choose the location. Some of those trees in the back or on the side, sorry, we have to calculate the soil volume and we have to have it continuity. That's why we were limited on those areas sometime, you know. And I mean, maybe the best location, if we can move it, was to the walk-in cooler in that green area. I can check for you if we can fit it in that location. Because that location was isolated. I could not make connection to the trees. And we have to have a green area in that section. But if you approve it, like as you said, then we will exercise. If I find a better location, I can move it. But the main thing, I don't want to hold the plan, you know, too much.
Sure, so we'll,
So do you have a
we
draft?
could make that, yeah, in my head, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry talking, and we'll see where it goes from here. So I move that HRB conditionally approve TOA 21-30D 2415 Chilton Road, New Green Valley Pharmacy Historic District. For the request to change the fire retention planner plan to a location.
Southeast corner.
Away from the entrance.
To a less prominent location away from the entrance. The planner shall be clad in the exterior of the planner shall be clad in stucco, backed up by masonry.
About the top.
Another.
Yeah, I agree with you about the exterior, like stucco, but don't forget also, if we move it to the other side, the other reviewer, they're gonna make comments too. Because most of them that in the past, they make comments, we have to daylight it, outfall to the manhole, not to the street. But maybe if they accept it, I was gonna wait for their comments, if they have any comments. Verbally, we discussed with them, everything okay, except now they are gonna see what we submitted. Hopefully we receive comments within a couple of days, maybe. And if we find a way to move it, we will. And I promise you, I will exercise my whatever I can. But if you want to put condition like not to obstruct the view of the building, I mean, we will try like to keep all these flower beds, everything like very low. And I don't think 10 inches will obstruct the whole view, you know.
Do we need to add something to the motion about it being subject to the DRC would review and could define?
Right, yes.
We've done that.
Yes.
Yeah, so
You said it was conditional, so just make it conditional on that.
they're conditional to DRC.
Final.
Of updated. Could you please read it back?
Yeah. I also added something in about it being rectangular in shape. Is that still
Is that
the general consensus?
That was my opinion. I don't know if that's shared by everybody.
Okay.
I think maybe we phrase that as in a shape that is in harmony with the shape of the historic district. I think that's more than, less dictatorial about exactly what.
But that's the spirit.
I'm
of
okay
I
with
think this is like terrific guidance we're giving him.
Just let us.
Yeah,
You could-
but don't forget the shape. The shape is blend with the curve in that area.
Bring it back.
It looks nice.
I mean, the building is square, so if they made it square, you would.
Rectangle.
If it's rectangular, then I don't.
That's a different thing. That's.
We're gonna sum up the meeting again.
Okay. I move that the HALRB conditionally approves COA 21-30D, 2415 Shirlington Road in the Green Valley Pharmacy Historic District for the request to change the bioretention planter plan to a less prominent location away from the main building. The planter should be clad in stucco backed up by masonry and in a shape that is in harmony with the historic district. This is conditional to DRC approval of the final updated drawings.
Sounds good to me. I second it. I can't speak for the rest of the board.
I guess the only thing I'm worried about
I
is
knew it.
I'll stop. That is the masonry part, because I think that's us going further than we should. I think we can say it should be faced with stucco that matches the building. They're gonna be told by, I think, other
There's not
county
much
officials. They're gonna be yeah, exactly.
But can we just conditionally approve it with the note that materials need to be resubmitted to DRC and leave it at
The
that?
materials should be submitted to the full board, I think. But they have, we're not, tonight we're
No,
only
why?
talking.
No,
We're gonna let the DRC.
Yeah,
do the-
Oh, I guess if it's, as long as it's stucco, I guess that's.
Yeah.
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 And I think it's
Something,
I mean,
I'm not stuck on stucco.
yeah, I think I mean, with the DRC, I mean, if we, I mean, not to take the win from the board, but I feel like if.
Saturated.
I mean, basically not, we approve it, I mean, they'll be approved, I mean, basically.
So at DRC, you would be confirming the material,
Yes.
confirming the shape,
Yeah.
confirming
Yeah.
But I think the question is just about, do you want to be specific about material or do you want to be vague?
Can we just say stucco clad and
Yes.
strike the language about masonry since?
May not work,
Building
actually.
is stucco.
The whole building's stucco.
It's historic, this is not.
The building's not containing water.
Maybe just DRC
last.
checking.
I just think
Yeah.
materials need to be submitted to DRC, right? Because there's the unknown from
The other.
Yeah.
the application
Yeah.
and I know the applicant said that he needs to confirm the materials with his design team, so.
Can we say the materials and shape are harmonious with the historic district?
I like that. Yeah, I like that better. That's exactly.
As,
right.
as to be approved by the DRC.
Yeah, that's,
This one took a village.
yeah.
I
Vague, but
was gonna
specific,
say.
yeah, I think.
You have,
Yeah. You need to read it again.
are we all good, or do you want it read one more time?
I'm good.
Okay, and you still second, Mr. Woodruff?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Dreyer,
Yes.
Mr. Fackler,
Yes.
Ms. Foster.
Yeah.
Mr. Hanley,
Yes.
Mr. Laporte,
Yes.
Ms. Lawrence.
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull
Yes.
and Mr. Woodruff.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Woo.
Got there.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Ms. Maharmek, for your time.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will be, there was a lot of back and forth, so I will provide a summary tomorrow
Yeah.
in an email for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye, good night.
Looks so, the building looks so sad, it will be nice to have some.
Exactly. I went by there the other day too. I couldn't believe how small it was.
It is small, you know, you think
Yeah, I
of the
don't know how
plans,
they-
it's.
that's-
It's also funny how much the answered roof makes it somehow even smaller,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
I think that's why it was put on.
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I interject just real briefly? It's related, but a couple months ago, when we reviewed the home in Maywood solar panels, I brought up that it'd be really nice if we saw renderings of what the size would look like with solar panels. This, I feel like, is another example where we don't have a lot of information in the submission. as to what we're actually looking at. There's no rendering of the planter. We had to kind of pull teeth to find out what it was going to be made out of. I just would like to see more complete. I'm cognizant of people's limitations with their architects, their staff, and their budgets, and I don't want to overwhelm our staffs, but let me do a lot of digging without a lot of easily obtainable information.
We understand your comment, and suffice to say, we did our best to get additional details before tonight.
I don't doubt it. Don't doubt it.
Much less than
Yes. There, yes, good point.
One last, do you reach out to other county agencies to find out what they have said?
We can access it through the permitting
Okay.
system.
So that's useful to have. Like,
Moving on. Mr. COA.
A lot of disease trees.
there sure are.
Now,
All the items.
now on to the Green Belt Soil Preservation Fund.
Okay, so I'll give the introduction for this one. So for those members who were here with us last month, you got a sneak peek of the first half of this Historic Preservation Fund project. And with us this evening, we have Anumidun Obakoya, who is going to give a presentation here in a second to walk you through the latest and final three proposed panels that are part of this project. And again, we are going to keep comments and questions from HLRB members at a very high level. We did get, I think, some written comments from 2 board members so far with editorial textual type changes. So thank you for sending those in advance. And Mr. Chair, we do have 1 public speaker for this item. So what I would propose is that we have Ms. Obakoya give her presentation. We'll do the public speaker, and then the matter can be with the board.
Okay.
All right, Anumidun, can you have your slides ready to go? If you're speaking, I think you're still muted. Hold on a second.
I got it.
Should be. Can you see if you can start sharing your screen? Does it allow you to do that yet? According to this, it looks like she has access.
She's muted.
And then Region, can you hear us? We can't hear you if you're trying to talk. Are you able to share your screen now?
Yes, now I'm a presenter. I was a guest
Oh,
before and I
wonderful.
couldn't speak and I couldn't share my screen or anything. So I think we're all good now. So good evening, everyone. My name is Anumidun Obakoya. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. I was a little concerned for a second because I couldn't
I was getting ready
change
to
the
email you.
settings.
Technology finally worked with us.
Okay, no worries. So let me just share my screen and we can get started. And please just tell me when you see it.
Not yet.
We can see that you're sharing your screen, but it's blank for some reason.
There
There we
we
go.
go. Okay, there was just a long delay. We see it now.
Okay, great. So thank you for having me. I am Enumi Bikoya. I am the Historic Preservation Project Manager, and I am happy to be here once more before the HALRB Design Review Committee. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what this project is about. And for the benefit of those who weren't at the meeting in April, I'll just briefly run through an overview of the project, and then I'll get right into the panels. So this is a historic preservation project that we are undertaking as a result of a historic preservation grant that we were awarded through the county earlier in the year, or actually last year now. And it is essentially a project for us to preserve our African American heritage and to highlight the heritage of African people here in Arlington. And it is also a way for us to revitalize our community, make young people and people who are new to the community aware of the heritage that we have and the culture that we share. And also to provide, like I mentioned, with younger people, educational opportunities, not really just for young people, but for everyone. And with this project, we want to create a repository of the archives that we have. We have quite a few archives, and we want to highlight the points of interest throughout the community. We are doing that through a series of walking tours and virtual tours that people can partake in. And there is a new website that we're creating, and there's some neighborhood branding. So I'm here tonight to talk about the branding for the community. So as you may or may not know, Green Valley is one of 3 remaining African communities. There were quite a few enclaves in Arlington at the turn of the century, but by the 1950s, we were down to these 3 communities that you see: Howells Hill, Johnson's Hill, and Green Valley. And I am here, of course, to talk about Green Valley. We are bounded by 16th Street South to the north, Shirlington Park, which is actually in Green Valley, at Arlington Mill Drive to the south, Interstate 395 and Army Navy Country Club, and Walter Reed Drive, as you can see on the map. There are 18 neighborhood points of interest that we currently have in our inventory, and there are 4 potential sites that I'd like to just briefly mention too. So of the 18 sites that we are talking about, 13 of those have historical markers already. They are in different shapes and forms. And we have 5 sites that we identified at the beginning of the grant that we wanted to promote. And they are the Chin Funeral Service, Friendly Capstan, Our Lady Queen of Peace, the John Robinson Town Square, and Veterans Memorial YMCA. Since then, we have identified 4 potential sites that we'd like to add: the Knock Fort Myer line of the Washington, Arlington, and Falls Church Railway, or the trolley line, as some people say, the Majestic Barbershop, Star Barbershop, and Naomi's TV. If funding allows, we will add those sites to the project as well. So there may be 22 sites at the end of all of this. Of these sites that are of interest in the community, we have a few that have historic designations. The 2 that I like to highlight are the Lomax African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. It is on the National Register of Historic Places, and it has local designation here in Arlington. And we also have the Green Valley Pharmacy, which we heard a lot about tonight already, which has local designation. And as you can see in these 2 images, these are the signs. They are in no way, shape, or form similar, but they are 2 historical markers that highlight the significance of these 2 sites. And just to give you an overview of some other non-designated markers that we have the Shirlington Crest, which was formerly the Dunbar Homes. It has a marker at the new site. And then there's this Dr. Roland Bruner House marker, which I must note, I did not update the image. The marker has been replaced with a newer image, but this was the marker that was present when I took the picture in 2023.
I can send you a picture if you need one.
I have a picture.
Okay, great.
I think I have a few.
Makes me sad every time I see that image.
But it does help me emphasize the point that the markers are disparate. And this is the whole point of the exercise, is to kind of unify all of the markers that we have. And so here are some other ones that we have. This one is at Mount Zion. We have this marker at the WNOD Trail, the Washington and Old Dominion Trail. And here's one at the Macedonia Baptist Church. These do look like historical markers, although they aren't of any national significance. And so what we're doing with this project is essentially unifying all of the existing, as I mentioned, seemingly disparate historical signage with this branding campaign through the grant. And so what we did was we set out to create a topology and of colors and images that really, we think, embody what we're about here in Green Valley. And with that, we have some QR codes that we've created that we want to place at each marker, no matter how they look, as a way to identify this site as one that's a part of the overall historical theme that we're trying to project. So we have the logo here too, as you can see. And then the upper right corner is essentially all of the elements coming together in this one map, which I'll talk about in a minute. And just to give you an idea of what the QR codes are like, I was at Our Lady Queen of Peace, which is one of our historical sites. And I'm sure all of you have seen throughout the, especially the beginning of the COVID pandemic, these stand here signs, these sidewalk stickers that were placed 6 feet apart. These are the ones that are still at Our Lady Queen of Peace because they're highly adhesive, super strong, and don't really remove easily. And I thought that perhaps this would be a good way for us to use these QR codes in the public right of way, in the sidewalk, to identify these sites as you walk upon each one of these markers. So this is what's there at Our Lady Queen of Peace today. So what we're intending to do is to have this 36 by 48 upright frame in at least 2 locations throughout the community, showing where the person is at that point in time. So just a "You Are Here" historical panel that talks about the community and then highlights different aspects of the community, parks and trails, and then historic sites and other elements on the legend. And then we have at each new site that we're proposing this single pedestal base, which is a 24 by 18 historical low profile panel, which with these interpretive text, these panels with this interpretive text that talks about each site. And this Chin funeral service was one that we presented at the April meeting, along with the Friendly Capstan and Our Lady Queen of Peace. And so tonight I'll talk about the Veterans Memorial YMCA, the John Robinson Town Square, and then a little bit more about the You Are Here map. So these panels are the same as the ones you saw before, and essentially it consists of text about the site and then an image or 2 or 3 that further emphasizes what is happening or what happened at the site. And the second one here is the John Robinson Town Square. Same thing, we have images with text that talk about the site. And then the third is the You Are Here map, which shows all of the historical sites and then other areas of interest, and then has this information about the community. And from this, we also have other elements that we're talking about too, which include a handbook that can be printed or you can pull up on your mobile device. We have story maps that walk you through the community as you come upon each site, and it gives you more information, and there's audio associated with that. We've also digitized archives, and we have some, there was a video or history project that commenced some time ago. That will be on the website. And then there are educational materials, including crossword puzzle, scavenger hunt, and other educational materials, just to give people a sense of where they are and what we're about. And with that, I will stop and take questions. I know that was brief, but a lot of information. So with that, I will say thank you.
That was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall I pull up her image, or what do you want me to do next?
Hold tight for 1 second. We have one public speaker, so we're going to go ahead and do that next.
Okay.
Dr. Byrne.
Mr. Byrne, please go ahead.
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The map in the project historic marker entitled to Welcome to Green Valley, which is that overall map you see, fails to depict the route of the Washington Virginia Railway and its predecessor and successor. They gave the name of the successor earlier, so she did. As stated in the historical marker at the opposite end of the neighborhood, that's next on the WD Trail. This electric trolley line spurred Green Valley's development. It is very important, and it's important to be on this map, its route. The trolley line travels through the neighborhood near the west side of South Kenmore Street, between South Glebe Road and the area the map is identified as the John Robinson Jr. Town Square. The line's trolleys traveled between Roslyn and the Green Valley for 36 years, from 1901 to 1937. Now, I've given you a reference and some links. I hope the applicant has links too, because you really need those to understand it. In 1929, a U.S. Geological Survey topographic map of Washington vicinity shows a portion of the trolley line's route that traveled north-south through Green Valley before terminating near the former location of the Kemper School. That school now bears the name of Dr. Charles R. Drew Elementary School. It's not quite in the same position as the Kemper School was, but it's close. It's just across the street, actually. The trolley line's route on the map is west of South Glebe Road, which the map shows as a red hatched line. So you need to really refer to the map to understand what I'm saying. The project's map, which is on the screen here, cannot be complete if it does not identify the trolley line's route. Further, the text on the left side of the marker should describe the trolley line, at least in 1 or 2 sentences, and its importance to the neighborhood's development. Because really, that whole development is, or much of it anyway, is based on the trolley line. The other part of development is down on the south end, which is where the WD Trail goes. So the railroad was really the impetus for all those commercial structures right near there. It was zoned commercial, of course, being near a railroad. This being a trolley line, it was not zoned commercial. It was owned basically residential. But anyway, so that I would like also, if you are preparing a new map of showing that line, please consult me. You have my information, I think. So I can give you some information that isn't consistent before it comes to the board. So I'd like to be involved in that process. But anyway, please put the route of the railroad on there. It follows Kenmore Street down to the site which I mentioned. Down to the Charles Drew Elementary School, basically. And it comes out of it starts at Glebe Road, where the Kenmore Street meets Glebe Road. And this then goes almost directly south on the west side of Kenmore Street.
Dr. Byrne,
that's all I have to say. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Byrne. Thank you.
May I respond to that?
Sure, go ahead. And I was just going to say, can you keep this slide up? Because why don't we start the conversation with this map?
Okay.
Go ahead and begin.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. I really appreciate those comments. I am a transportation planner here in Arlington County. Full disclosure, I am very passionate about transit, and I think that is a gross oversight from the beginning of the project, and I wholeheartedly agree that it should be included, and it has been added as a site that I am working feverishly to get on the map. So I agree with you, and I just want to say that for the record. It is an important part of the community. Transportation, specifically was a major driver of how the community was formed and was able to thrive. So thank you. I appreciate the comments.
So are there any other commissioners who have big picture comments on this particular panel? Want to share?
Yeah, I have one. I've long thought that we should have a historic marker in Green Valley for the home of Roberta Flack. And I was wondering if you had thought about that. I know she's aged now and it may be better to wait because she's not going to be with us forever, but she's, you know, an internationally acclaimed musical artist and perhaps the most famous person to grow up in Green Valley.
She is included in our website and on some other historical media that we have archived. She is not included here, but sure, I can take it back. But I do understand the sensitivity in wanting to perhaps not include her at this point, but I will take it back to the committee.
Nan, I think I saw your hand up too.
Yeah, in reading the first paragraph here about the origins of the community, and I admit I have not lived in Arlington that long, so maybe this is something that everyone else understands more than me, but I just feel like I didn't get the full story. It says it has a long and diverse history beginning in 1719. Then the sentence goes on to talk about a land purchase in 1844. And then it kind of moves forward, but I guess it wasn't what happened in 1719. And then
Go ahead.
And then I was just wondering, Levi and Sarah Ann Jones, were they the first African landholders? And then that is when the community took on that identity? Or I guess I feel like that could be a little bit more fully explained.
Okay, I hear you. Yes, 1917 was when the land grant was deeded to two people who were not African. 1844 were when Levi and Sarah Ann Jones, who were both Africans who were enslaved at the Mount Vernon, George Washington estate, were when they acquired property here. And from that point is when it started to evolve into an African community.
Yeah, I had actually made the same two comments in my written comments that
Yeah.
I submitted before.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And that would be great to maybe just add another sentence or so in there to kind of explain that transition a little bit.
Thank you.
Any other board comments on this one?
Yeah, I had one. One thought I had was that maybe instead of having numbers to denote the parks, perhaps they could be letters maybe, because I got a little bit confused in terms of seeing on numbers, I guess, both in the orange and yellow. So we just change those to letters or more simple.
Noted.
And then we did from the staff side, there were two comments that we just wanted to share for you to bring back. The first has to do with the key that you have on the right, on the top one that you're referring to as historic sites. Not everything on that list, as you pointed out in your earlier slides, is historic. And so we're wondering if perhaps a different title such as sites of interest would better capture the variety of types of sites, because some are newer, some are older.
Okay.
That way it's not misleading for people who are unfamiliar with your neighborhood and assuming that all of that is old. So that was one comment. And then the second comment just had to do with the level of detail on the map. We understand the need to highlight all of the individual sites of interest as well as the parks and trails, but wonder if including all the building footprints is making the map a little busy. I think the numbering and the key that you have for all the sites of interest in the parks will pop a little bit more if they can stand out more. And given the level of change and the level of development that's happening, not only in your neighborhood, but countywide, there will come a time when these building footprints will not represent the footprints that you see if you're walking around the neighborhood due to change. And so that was one suggestion that we wanted to make to have you all consider. to kind of simplify what is shown on the map, just to offer a little bit more clarity to the reader, especially to those who are unfamiliar. And then that way you could still call out all of the street names. And then if you do add the location of the trolley line, that's another opportunity for that to pop out a little bit more as well. Don't want to have so much on the map that it's going to be hard to read it. So we wanted to share that feedback.
Can I just respond to that? Because I don't really agree with that. There's a lot of that map that doesn't have any numbers or letters on it. And so without those buildings, it would be sort of empty. And I like the fact that you can see all the structures. And if you're walking the neighborhood, you could sort of figure out where you are by counting if you wanted to, if you had the map.
I think the buildings give it a sense of scale, and I think the textures really feel residential because it is. I mean, it looks like it. It tells a story by itself. Even if things change, I don't think enough will change that the character of the story would be affected. However, to your point about legibility, well, I don't find that a huge issue. If we were to address it, maybe instead of making it a stark figure ground, like black on green, if we reduced maybe 70%, so it's more of like an ash or a gray, might help some of the other ones pop a little bit.
But I want to make sure I understand. Sorry, I interrupted, but I just want to make sure I understand. You're saying reduce the transparency to 70%. Is that what you said? Of the buildings? Okay.
70%. No, not everything. Maybe make the buildings a little less dark, just so the numbers pop. But honestly, it doesn't bother me.
Well,
I like him too.
think the thing that you would have to be careful with for that is that then the streets and the buildings have enough contrast.
That's fair.
No.
I would leave it, but
Keep in mind, it's gonna be 4 feet wide too, so, I mean, it's a little bit hard to see when it's on an 8 by 11 piece of
Yeah.
paper, but it will be different when it's that big.
I like the buildings.
I do too.
Yeah.
I agree with Dick. I like the building.
They convey how many people live in it.
Difference of
One other thing, I think that this goes to an issue that I raised, that there's no dates on these, and a lot of the statements made on the various panels are dated statements. So you need to really be able to put them in context, and what we usually do on historic markers is put by erected by Arlington, and you put the date on it. So if you put the date on these, then anybody will know that that's when this map, what this map illustrates.
That's a good
And
point.
so if things change, people will understand that it doesn't attempt to reflect what buildings are there today.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do a little credit for whoever drew this map. I don't know if it's you, but, and then just put the date as well as part of that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg.
This may change a great deal when it's 4 feet wide, but I found it difficult the map did not pop for me because the background color is also green. I wonder if you could do something to change the background color or to make the map itself more prominent. And also that would allow perhaps for you to slightly increase the size of the map itself. I think if it was even a little bit bigger, it would fill more of that center space and be easier to read. Now, it may be easier to read on a big plaque, but I found it difficult to read.
I think that's kind of good because it's Green Valley, so making it.
Well, and leaving the map green, I agree, but the background
I
might
mean, I
be.
think the background being green and
maybe
the,
just a lighter shade of green.
yeah, maybe a lighter shade.
I like the green too. I think it's,
Because it was named Green Valley because it was very green there when they built the Green Valley Mansion. So I think that sort of speaks to the name of the community.
I notice you have 2 stars for the "you are here." Are you going to put this in 2 places?
We are proposing to at the moment, and there is potentially a third.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense then.
So Inumidun, what is the next slide or the one that was before this?
The John Robinson Town Square.
So initial thoughts, reactions, big picture comments.
For this one and also for the YMCA one, you have credits for your images, but you don't actually say what they are. And I mean, for this one, obviously that's the square and presumably that's John Robinson Jr. But if there's a date or if you know what he was doing in that picture, and for the YMCA one as well, just to identify with the caption what's going on in the photo. That would be nice, because those photos are great.
Yeah,
That was
thank
my
you. That's a
comment,
good,
too.
good
Mine
comment.
too.
I just thought it'd be nice to know who, I guys guess that that's John Robinson Jr., but
Right.
who else is there?
Yeah.
Also, has that structure in the park been named? The specific,
Yes.
yes, okay, so maybe the name of it? Is the name of it?
Freed.
Freed. Oh, Freed, okay, right, yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, identifying that.
Yeah, so identifying the
Options would be good. And I think, I forget who mentioned this last month, but for the two logos, I think a suggestion was made to put those in the green
Mhm.
footer bar in the bottom, and then that way gives you a little bit more spacing on the panel and maybe even the ability to make the pictures a little bit bigger.
I like that. We have decided we will, let me say this correctly. In the interest of funding, we will wait to make the edits after this meeting and then
Understood.
present the panels back to you with the changes at one of your upcoming meetings, perhaps the June or July meeting.
No,
But that was a good comment, and we agree. We do like that it gives us more space.
I think for the sake of time and process too, it might not be necessary to come back to the commission. It might be just something that we work with you as staff
Okay.
on
Okay.
the finals. So we can talk more about that with Lauren.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments from the board on this panel?
Just one small one. It might be nice to not have one giant paragraph, but to just break it up a little bit for the text.
Can you say more about that? Oh, you mean the paragraphs for each
Well,
column?
it's technically all presented as one paragraph, all three sections.
I see.
And maybe it could just.
Yeah, that's the
No,
style.
okay,
I think it's 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
because it's separated
Separated.
Right.
it's separated,
by the,
but not by
Sentences.
sentences. Yeah.
Are Continuous, it's not.
Yeah, I suppose when you rearrange the logo, maybe it will work out that there'll be a sentence break where the different sections are, but,
Okay.
okay,
We'll
that's
work on that.
that's a minor one.
Right.
But no, it's noted. I made the comment and I'll make sure the designer gets it and we can work it out.
Could you go to the third and final one? Perfect. All right. Initial thoughts?
It's just a little sparse. Just make-
Well, captions again would help.
and also, something about, maybe I missed it, but, was the swimming pool ever built?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's a picture of it, I guess.
Yeah, it was hard, but the text below, because I enlarged it, tried to be able to read
Yeah.
it, talks about pool will be, and I thought there was a pool there, but then I thought, maybe I'm wrong. So
Captioning would help on that, say
Yeah.
this is the.
It looks
Okay.
like that's from a local newsletter or newspaper, maybe.
It was a
but-
fundraising campaign, yeah, to
Yeah, I
raise
thought it
money
was really
for the pool.
Yeah, yeah.
And the,
I found the text difficult to read, and if you're gonna leave text, you might summarize it or say why it's there or what it is.
Okay.
It didn't make sense to me why it was, I mean, I was trying to read it and then I figured out, oh, it was part of the image. So maybe a caption would help, or a caption below the text explaining what it all was, so you wouldn't struggle to read it, might be all that's needed.
Excellent.
and of course, in a 4-foot wide panel.
Yeah, it may be easier to read. But it looks like a wonderful story. The captions would be great to put under those pictures so that we would
Yeah.
get a sense of the life that is being portrayed.
And Mimi, do you know by chance what the address of that building was when it was standing?
It's still there. It's at the intersection of 22nd and South Kenmore Street. I can find the address. I have it. I
Okay.
can, would
I'm
you
just
recommend that I
curious.
add it here?
I didn't see it, and I feel like if the building is still standing, it might be worth making that connection. And if you're able to share the address with us, we might be able to look through some of our historic maps and
Okay.
permit records to see if there's any interesting information that could add to the narrative.
Okay,
But that's searchable by address only. So if you can forward that to us, we can help with that.
thank you.
None.
Goes on. Any other thoughts? Well, you all have been very busy these past couple months.
Incredible,
Yes, very.
impressive amount of work.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's gonna be great.
So do you have any questions for us? Do you have the feedback that you think you need?
I think I do.
Wonderful. All right, well, we as staff will reach out to you in the coming days and we'll update Lauren on what transpired tonight. And then we'll figure out next steps with you.
All right, thank you guys
Okay.
very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Good night.
Chair's report. Take a look, let's lead off with aug update.
Right, well, I need to do this with Joan.
Oh.
So I guess we're reporting back on our, what?
Talked about it, but you did April and I did May.
Yeah, why don't I mention the April meeting, then you follow up with May. But the meeting in April was a little bit depressing because there was a lot of concern raised about buildings that were being taken down in the conservation area. Particularly one building which is very distinctive. I guess the archway in the building is actually used in for Barcroft. It's like that distinctive, and it's a building that was not originally contemplated to be demolished, but then got thrown into that category in return for the developer's proposal to protect the sort of Grand Thomas Street entrance, which part of that entrance right off Columbia Pike would have been demolished, and they decided to sort of preserve that, but then grab this other building. And so there was a lot of concern about that building, what was going to happen to it. And Dave Weir, who was the planning commission representative, kind of, I guess, co-leading the meetings, asked the developer to come back with some plan, some plan that contemplated protecting, if not the whole building, at least the ceremonial archway that is so symbolic of the neighborhood and stuff. And then beyond that, not much really changed from the last time we talked about this. They're still planning on demolishing buildings on the edges, both the east and west edges of the neighborhood, preserving the core in the middle. And, you know, presumably have to do it that way in order to make the whole thing work economically. And to preserve the, you know, the below market rate units for the next 99 years or something, I can't remember.
99.
Yeah. And so that was the crux of that meeting.
Well, they didn't really come back on with anything on the arches at the meeting that I went to, which was Monday. It was pretty much a wrap up of, because it's the last meeting of the working group, unless we're called back for something else. So it was kind of a summary of where things stood. And I wrote up a summary and gave it to Lauren. I didn't bring it with me, so see if I remember what I said. The county staff presented just a summary of what we have, what we're looking at. We're looking at making changes to planning documents. There's the financing plan that requires certain things. There are going to be some land use changes. The Columbia Pike planning documents, one of which is the original one from 2005, and then the neighborhoods plan, which I worked on, which is 2012, talking about conservation districts and that sort of thing, are going to require amendments. Form-based code ultimately is going to, just another planning part of Columbia Pike, is going to require updating the general land use plan and the master transportation plan. Those are the four. The staff talked about the outreach that they had done, the community outreach. They had an online feedback. They also had an open house Saturday the 4th at Barcroft. I was not able to go to that, so I don't really have a sense of what they said. But as a reason, I think they said that, and I don't know if this is just the online feedback or just generally, about a third of Barcroft current residents provided some sort of feedback, and they talked about priorities for what they wanted to see. First one was parking, and there was some discussion at the meeting about this, because if you've ever driven down George Mason Drive, and if you've ever driven, many of the people who live there have businesses of their own, or they work for other businesses, and they have construction vehicles, they have vans, they have trucks, they have food trucks, they have vehicles from their employers, and so those are all parked there, and I can very well understand why that's a concern. But interestingly, the second highest priority was they wanted to see the historic garden apartment style and feel preserved, and then the tree canopy was one, and they contrasted that with some comments from non-residents, and the non-residents didn't mention preserving the historic Barcroft, but they did mention things like transportation and trees and that sort of thing. The other highlights, I think that's pretty much it from the staff part. There is more. This is all, if you want to go to the Barcroft Land Use website, they have the documents that they presented to us. They were not there for the meeting. They're there now, and I've looked at them. But then the applicant, Jared Lynch, did a presentation. Their land use attorney did all the presentation, and very cleverly done, I have to say, emphasizing that, yeah, we're going to do all this improvement to the open spaces, and we're going to do this, that, and the other, but nothing about that preserving that building or the arches. And they did change their plans to demolish a couple buildings, with the numbers of them, that are adjacent to Columbia Pike that were going to be demolished. Those are no longer going to be demolished. I don't know if they talked about that at your meeting.
Those are ones near Thomas Street?
They're adjacent to the Pike. So I'm not sure they're that close to Thomas Street, but they may be.
Not the commercial buildings on the west side.
No, this is more in the middle.
Yeah, it's probably the Thomas Street stuff.
Could be. I wasn't the street names.
That's like the main entrance off.
Yeah, so it's probably those. The other concern, I mean, they're talking about all this went on and on about biophilic pathways. And there's this whole biophilic thing, and it struck me, okay, in 3 years nobody's going to be mentioning biophilic anymore, but it is a thing right now, and basically they're trying to improve the experience with nature. They did make some changes. They had proposed these little parks, mini parks, which were, in my opinion, were terrible locations to start with, and so they've moved those. Nobody in Barcroft could necessarily use them, and they did admit that one of them was on the corner of Columbia Pike and George Mason, and that's going to be a commercial space, and so there's going to be possibly a restaurant with sidewalk table seating, and so how do you put a little park there? Well, you can't, and there's not, people think there's all this room, but they have, to their credit, enlarged these parks, and they put them in places that seem to be more accessible to people who actually live in The building heights are tapered to some extent. And they did say that they try to position the height and density where it would have the least impact on the historic buildings. It's a little hard to tell because if you've ever really looked at Barcroft, the topography is really varied. It's kind of, it's not flat actually along George Mason, but when you go to the other side along 4 Mile Run, and I guess one of those streets is called 4 Mile Run Minor, which I never this, that it's pretty steep. And then there's this whole other section of Barcroft that is actually across George Mason from the rest of it. And then I guess part of this this area is the site across George Mason and Columbia Pike that's known as the Penske site. Used to be a Red Barn restaurant on that site. And there was a garden center where I remember my plants years ago, but they're going to actually put something there. I think something in the way of a park because play spaces for children are also something that they were looking at. And that's what residents wanted as well, understandably. They also talked about amenities, and there's this plan to do this amenity center. And right now, there's this entire building that could be demolished, although they're, you know, they've got these, they had these diagonal lines and amount demolished to be determined. And I asked a question about that. And I also suggested that, I also asked about the arches and if they were going to try to preserve them or relocate them somewhere. So I put that out there, whether they do or not. They said, well, I'll think about it or something to that effect. And then with respect to the amenity center, you know, they've got, I think they've got this idea of this grand building that's going to have all sorts of things in it, like game rooms and all-purpose rooms and a fitness center and who knows what else. And I suggested that perhaps they could just repurpose the building and not demolish it, which is, I said, more environmentally sound approach, and renovate it to include all of these indoor amenities that they were talking about doing.
That's interesting. You know, I'm pretty sure that this amenity center that they're talking about would be located where that Arches building is now.
No, it's a different location. It's a totally different.
Where is it?
It's actually, as you go in the main, if it's Thomas Street, because I've got the streets confused. It's in about a block or so.
At 12?
At 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
That sounds like the spot.
No, it's not. It's not, because there's a whole building there that part of which might be preserved. I tried to, in my comments, I said preserve the whole thing, but anyway, we'll see what happens. What else? What we've been looking at over the past year for improvements has actually been parts of Barcroft that they're not going to be doing anything about except making maybe some improvements to the courtyards. Although they did say that all the parking for the current buildings was going to stay, because that is a huge concern. Is the parking. And in the new buildings, the parking ratios are what the county prescribes, which are like 0.125 or something like that per unit. So it's not 1-to-1. So, you know, they are, sounds like they are trying to make it preserve the tree canopy to an extent. I mean, obviously, when you're constructing new buildings, you're going to be taking down trees. And some of these buildings could be 14 feet tall.
14 stories.
14, I'm sorry. Thank you, 14 stories.
14 feet.
It's been a long time.
Not so bad.
It's been a long time.
The staff was pretty clever about calling out on the, I think on the west side,
That's where.
how close the tall buildings would be to the existing buildings because of the topography.
Yeah.
And how that would look. And it was, the staff did it in a really subtle way, and I think got their message across without being very challenging to the developer about it. But I don't see them changing anything necessarily.
Well, to that point, thank you both for your recaps tonight, but also for being part of the land use analysis these past couple months. We really appreciate your support and help. And so I will reiterate what you had said, Joan, about if you're interested in learning more, all of these documents are available on the Barcroft project page online. You can try to find, we can send the link around so you have it. And our colleagues in the planning division will be coming to the HLRB in June to give you your own summary of the links as part of their engagement before they go to the county board in June.
I meant to mention that because they at the end, they had all the stakeholder groups make whatever they want to make comments about. So what I did, and they also are planning to go to the county board in July. And they did say that that the applicant will be submitting its first construction plans summer, so they're not losing any time.
Yes.
So the 2 months ago, they had another, when the last time I was here, there was a presentation from Barcroft folks. And I haven't studied that project very much since I've come on the board, and I will go and look at the documents. But I guess I was surprised to see them kind of reveal, I felt like they were revealing to us that they were tearing down a third of the, or almost a half of the project, of the current footprint.
About 30%.
It seemed like a lot.
It's a lot more than we would like.
And I was very surprised that, I don't know, I thought some of those buildings were in some way protected, but I will read that and see
They
that
were.
I'm wrong.
They were.
They were
Okay,
until they weren't.
okay, and
They're part of a conservation district that was part of the original, well, not the neighborhoods plan for Columbia Pike, the 2012 document. And what they're doing is limiting conservation districts. So look at that language carefully, because how much they limited.
The lines are changing, getting a little bigger in some areas.
I mean, I felt like they were dangling, cornices and entryways
Well, they
and
are.
attractive little parks, and on the other side,
Still doing that.
yeah, but that's all going on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Don't look at these, not at these. We're taking down 3 blocks.
Well, they haven't come to discuss their reconstruction project with us. They are only discussing their renovation work with us.
So there will be a lot more to come. So please make a point to be here. For the
And if
changes.
you have comments and want to make comments on it, do.
I'm too ignorant. I don't know enough about it, but that was just the feeling I had 2 months ago at that presentation. Just thought,
You know for a fact that the conservation easement is going to get done for the conservation area.
We're working towards that. As far as we know, that is still the plan. I don't have a time frame for you.
Does that get done as part of the county board? Piece? TBD.
I think it's TBD. We are working behind the scenes on that. Rest assured.
I mean, its affordable housing component is a huge aspect of this, which it should be.
Yeah.
It is affordable housing right now.
It always has been.
It always has been, I know.
that's what it was built to be.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Promise. Yeah.
Hey. Mr. Chair, there was another.
Oh, yeah.
Chair's report.
Oh, yeah, just wanted to quick recap. We had an advisory board chairs meeting with Libby and staff maybe about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. And the two big sort of takeaways I think that I'd like to talk about tonight was that they just wanted us to sort of highlight or mention that Arlington 2050 visioning initiative. Initially, the initiative is just basically sort of envisioning what you want the county to look like in 2050. So like kind of like, whether it's like sort of preservation or environmental, that's just like whatever that is, there's different portals sort of to like get your ideas out there. One thing is, I guess there's a 2050 postcard that you can write and then I can submit to like a library or somewhere. And I don't have any postcards with me here, but you can also one line and do it. Yeah, that was one thing. The other thing was
It's word limited.
oh, it is online. Oh, okay. So so if you do the postcard, you can
You have
actually
to do a lot
write
of type editing to get in whatever you got in mind.
Your vision must be
Your
consumed.
vision must be
Limiting you to
succinct.
very, very.
Distinct vision.
Because that's your vision.
Do a haiku.
We're running.
Haiku.
I like
Hopefully it's
that.
longer than a haiku.
It is a little longer than haiku. 2 haikus.
Limited vision. There you go. The next one was that there's an advisory group handbook that's also available for review and on comment. And the comment period ends, I think, around June 11th. So that's something that's our online thing. Essentially, I guess that lays out sort of like what what the sort of parameters are for advisory groups. According including HLRB in terms of different sort of like guidelines and our general sort of things like that too. And I thought that was interesting. I'd never seen the handbook before, but so it's pretty interesting, document. It's kind of when I was offering sort of comment on that.
So did you say it's being updated and
It's-
you're
it's-
taking comments on it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
We'll look for the link.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's news to us.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. And there's some other things too that we went over that I think we'll sort of wait for staff to discuss before we discuss that. But nothing that really affected too much.
Might be worth our looking at that, because I know they have sometime in the past that want to set up these regulations, and we're established by ordinance, and most of the others are not. Okay, so they wanted to make us do all this stuff that they can't, by these,
Okay.
it was a county manager's handbook or something.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, and
Exactly. Yeah.
we're not subject to that.
Okay.
Because we have our separate ordinance, and, our requirement, we're a
Easy.
Kind of a-
legal, we're supposed to have real power. Okay, unlike a lot of these other advice commissions that are just advisory.
That's good.
We'll look for the link and.
Yeah.
Those are two big takeaways. Yeah. Other than that, that was it. So meeting with Libby in the first.
We'll keep it very brief. I sent around a link to our third cultural heritage spotlight video, which was released about Heidelberg pastry shop. So hopefully you all had a chance to look at that. It's great. Thank you.
I
Really
love
lovely.
that.
That was a fun one
That was really fun.
and a yummy one.
Aha.
We had to sample the wares,
And I also wanted to let you all know that the William and Marguerite Syfax marker that had been reviewed by you all last year has been installed. And so that is in place, which is fantastic. If you want to take a look, it is across the street from 1327 South Beach Street in Arlington View neighborhood. That. And then an event to potentially put on your calendars, June 20th. It's Thursday. It is actually the same day as our upcoming HALRB meeting, which we'll talk about. For Ethan Allen, DPR is hosting an event for the unveiling of the USCT marker that you all reviewed. So they will be formally inviting you, but we wanted to let you know now. It's at 9:30 in the morning on Thursday. So it's a very specific time, but if you can make it, they'd love to see you there.
Sorry, what was the date again?
June 20th,
June 20th.
Thursday.
and it's at Fort Ethan Allen. They're gonna have some public speakers, and I believe some like information tables and maybe some reenactment, some war reenactment.
Thank you, Michael. And for those of you who were not here last month and missed this announcement, if you haven't been already, what was formerly the Central United Methodist Church, which then became the Ballston Station site plan, which has since been renamed Unity Homes at Ballston, the building is done. And the fence is up around the Robert Ball family burial ground. And the Jesus Tiffany window has been restored and is now installed and on display in the vestibule. So if you haven't had the time to see it yet, I strongly encourage you to do it. The county did a press release just last week. And so we're excited to finally close that chapter on that 20+ year saga.
Long one.
12 years.
If you watch local,
23 to be exact.
if you watch local news, Cynthia was on the air.
I wasn't gonna say that.
She did a very good job.
Well, the press release was good too. And Yeah.
Also done.
It's very impressive.
Thank you. So please check it out. Let us know what you think. In terms of administrative updates, so we are in the process of getting ready to set up interviews for our vacant historic preservation specialist position. The posting closed last week and we've been reviewing applications like crazy people, trying to get that all done. And so hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to get the interviews done and a candidate selected and a job offered. So we will keep you posted on all of that. And then just wanted to say something briefly about the budget. Thank you again, Omari, for coming to one of the recent budget work sessions with the county board and making a case to support the preservation program's budget. They voted in April for the new FY25 budget, which will go into effect on July 1st. And as part of that approved budget, there is $100,000 that has been allocated specifically back to our program so we can begin the update to our historic resources inventory. So we'll be working on a scope. I don't think that will cover everything that's done, but we'll be able to at least start it. And so we were very grateful for their commitment to that project, and they understood the needs for it. So we don't have all of our consultant money restored, however, but we do have this one line item that we can do for something that we is a high priority in our new plan. So I wanted to
You have a plan for moving forward
for the
with the HRI?
HRI, we need to be fully staffed first. First things first. I have a draft scope of work that I've been working on and off for years. And now that we know that the money is coming to us, I have to phase the project in such a way that we can figure out how to break it up a little bit. And then we will put that out to bid and then hopefully get started in the next couple months is the plan.
What does the end product look like, do you think?
So there's going to be, I think, a few different steps that are going to be needed. We need to digitize all the data. We need to correct the data. To say Colonial Village is one building address, we all know is incorrect because it's dozens and dozens of buildings. So we have to do a lot of general. There's quite a few buildings that have been protected that need to be identified as such. There's quite a few buildings that have been lost, and those need to be moved to the demolished category. So there's some general housekeeping that needs to be done, and that's where we're going to start. And try to, if the budget allows for this initial round, to be able to better connect the existing data with GIS. So it's more than just our team being able to use it. You all would be able to look things up. Developers could look things up. Property owners could use it more easily than you can now. So eventually, I think a future goal would be to expand the HRI into different categories. Also potentially look at cultural significance, not just architectural significance, but that would require a resurvey, that would require additional research. So that's kind of futuristic thinking, but we want to start with the essential basics first.
So you're talking about phase one.
This is phase one.
No, this project, this Green Valley project is a step in that direction because I mean, maybe one or two of the historic markers that we reviewed tonight talks about the changing of Green Valley.
Yes.
Okay, and I actually think we should be a little bit more specific about that, but I don't know exactly. I know why they're not specific because I don't know if they know what to say in a way that, you know, it's very sensitive, okay, because it's Green Valley is like 30% black now. It's becoming less black by the day. And so it's good to have these historic markers to, to commemorate this history. Maybe, but anyway, so what you're saying is the cultural history is just as important as
Yes.
architectural history. And some of these things tonight that we're talking about is really more cultural history. So the markers that we reviewed are different markers we typically put up for places and buildings. They're about people.
And when we created the HRI over a decade ago, it really was with the mindset of being able to protect historic buildings. And I think the HRI has helped us do a lot of that, especially through site plans where we've been able to get preservation easements. But the more our program has evolved, the more the preservation field has evolved. It's not, as we've said on and on, during our planning process, it's not just about the architecture. We have to be able to bring in the stories and the people to that. And so the HRI is a perfect place to start doing that. So the last thing I do want to mention, as Michael alluded, so the regular meeting date for the June HLRB falls on Juneteenth, which is a county holiday. So we had proposed to the group, I think 2 months ago, that we were going to move the June date by 1 day. So instead of meeting on the 19th, we would meet on the 20th, which is a Thursday. So I want to do a quick poll to make sure we can have an in-person quorum on that date, or else there's a lot of business that we won't be able to get done for June. So does anyone know that they absolutely cannot attend on that date?
Katie knows that she cannot attend. She let me know already.
Okay, and Rebecca, you said no either.
Yes.
Let you
And I
know.
believe, Michael, you sent out an updated meeting invitation.
Yes, I did.
So please mark your calendars now. Do not show up here on the 19th. You might not even be able to get in. And then you'll realize, oh, it's tomorrow. And that was all we had for the second.
That. Adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I want to mention, if you want to see another Tiffany window, also see the show that I'm currently costuming. St. Mark's in DC, Capitol Hill has